episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Sokin. I'm glad that you're here with us this day. I'm here with Professor Herman Manyora. How are you, sir?
Very good. Yes.
What's your assessment of the current state of the nation right now?
Well, we are slightly better than where we were, so we are good.
A week ago, better where we were.
Yeah.
Some sort of a week ago, 2 weeks
we are
ago.
almost losing it. Now we are on track. Yeah.
I've seen various residents of certain areas, especially Madare, lamenting that they were abandoned by the leaders after the riots, and therefore they're the ones who are actually incurring the losses and bearing the heavy burden of the aftermath of those demonstrations, actually.
Yes.
Do you think there could be something that the leaders who organize these demonstrations perhaps could do, or the government could do, to help out some of these people that are victims of such?
Indeed. Leaders must never abandon their people. Yeah, they must always help them and assist them to recover. Yeah, manage the losses some way. Yeah, they should not abandon them. Yes.
Well, one of the things that has actually brought a lot of debate in this country, and especially culminating all the way from the demonstrations that we had back then, is police brutality and the kind of force that the police normally use in trying to actually quell some of the chaos that arises as a result of demonstrations. Recently, leave alone the Azimio demonstrations, Boda guys were demonstrating in Chuka, and the police went there to disperse them. And of course, we also witnessed a case of the death of one of them there, definitely a share of the Boda operators down there. This guy was killed because the police decided to use live bullets during that kind of session of trying to disperse them, despite the fact that they also used tear gas that has also been perhaps been instigated as their effects on the people when used excessively, because definitely we have even people who are in hospital right now, others who even succumbed to death as a result of the tear gas stuff. So do you think that the government is failing to regulate the kind of force that the police should be using in taming some of these protests?
Before we talk of police force, police using brutality, and the government maybe forcing the police, what we need to talk about is why do we create those states, those situations that call for that? We must avoid those kind of situations. In many of the cases, dialogue would have sufficed. People just talk. If border people have a problem, they meet with the county security team or the county police transport, whatever they call DT something, county transport, whatever the traffic officer, or the, these are things we can always resolve as brothers and sisters. They should never get there, because once things get there, there can be no guarantee that things will be okay. Of course, we can tell the police not to use excessive force. We can blame the government, but why do we get there?
My question is this. I tried to look at the reason as to why those people in Meru, in Chuka, were actually protesting. They were protesting because of the insecurity therein, and they were protesting the killing of one of their own members. And that is the kind of demonstration that this leader led. So their leader was there actually trying to express himself and tell now if this is the only option that we have, and then that also resulted into his death. Are there certain circumstances under which we can actually...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What is it that we can't talk about? Public officers must know they are here they serve at our pleasure. It is us, with the citizen, they serve. It's us that make... If it's not us, you cannot be the police boss. If it's not us, you cannot be the county police boss, police commander. No, you are there because we are there. So when we have issues, listen to us. And most of the issues will be resolved. There's rarely anything that people can't resolve. It's just that some people don't want to listen to the public. Some people are too arrogant. Some people are too full of themselves. Some people close the door. Or on our side, sometimes we expect too much from the police. We don't know they are human beings. So if both sides were to balance, there should never be a time we get to the streets and kill each other. It's bad.
And even if we get to the streets, I'm trying to wonder what is wrong with people protesting against the death of one of their own.
And you see, again, that's what I'm saying. Government is still asleep. You say government should be woke, eh? This is a new Kenya. This is a new world. You cannot suppress the people the way they used to be suppressed. No, the world has changed. You get it? Newfound freedoms people are enjoying. You can't curtail them. People want to demonstrate. If that's the last resort, let them do it. You can't stop it. But some people, government and the police are still living in the past. They think there is anything you can do when people are protesting. The answer is there anything? The answer is no. So that leads us to sort of training the police ought to be given. The police ought to be trained in a manner to know the world has changed. When people are protesting, it's not about tear gas. In fact, when I see them throwing tear gas, I just laugh. Soon they will not be managed. People are, why are the police not even seeing that? In the past, one tear gas could disperse 10,000 people. They will run away. But people are picking the tear gas and returning to the police. And the police are still using tear gas. They want to wait for such a disaster for them to know the tear gas will no longer be useful. You don't use that. Tear gas is an outdated thing. It is outdated. The politicians must manage the situation in the country so that we avoid going into demonstrations, number one. So that we talk whenever there are issues. But if people must demonstrate, sometimes they will have to demonstrate. The police ought to be given the right training of crowd management. You see? Because throwing tears and then that ugly water cannon thing I used to see in Soweto, South Africa during the times of apartheid, that's too bad for us. And then live bullets. And then collateral damage. You get it? We can avoid all these things. One, by avoiding going to the streets where politicians sort out their mess. And if people must demonstrate, the police ought to be given modern methods of crowd control. Modern. Hii ya tear gas imeisha. Kwani hawajaona imeisha, watoto wanarudisha hiyo tear gas huko. Are boys not just walking in the tear gas and the water cannon? They are even washing the face with it. So they want us to get to a point where the boys will begin harming the police. That's not good.
No, our police force, of course, has come under a lot of criticism.
No, I don't want to criticize the police because you start with the politicians. Don't blame the vulture. Blame the state of things that has caused the carcasses to be there. So the police are not responsible for the stupidity that is coming from politicians. The police are not properly trained in those manners. The police are not well equipped. So I don't like to blame the police because I know the police also work under very traumatic conditions. Yeah.
No, okay, still, a number of Kenyans are wondering what's the problem actually with our police force, especially the National Police Service in this country. Talk to me about still revisiting the aftermath of the demonstrations back then a week ago. The police officer who lost his life in Kisumu, of course, and it was reported, that report from the police that he lost his life as a result of being hit by a stone on the chest, a stone that was actually sent his way by a giant catapult from down there. But then the autopsy and report and all the investigations by the media houses revealed a different thing, that one, it wasn't even that stone that hit this guy because there was no evidence of that. And it actually revealed that this police officer actually lost his life as a result of being run over by a police truck. Actually, they were saying that in that kind of stuff, they were trying to quell and contain that kind of demonstrations, and then they were overwhelmed. So they decided to leave and go for more backup, or rather canisters for that matter. And then he missed and he got run over by their own vehicle. But then these reports came on board and we were being told that this person was killed by the demonstrators. So we saw that come from the police, and that communication after it was revealed, then you saw those people come and give some sort of apology. The other time we also had those fracas where they decided to post all manner of pictures, even from Congo and all those. So my question is now that we are here, do you think there is just a problem with our police service?
No. I have told you, the problem, first of all, is with the politicians. Why do they allow things to get this bad instead of just talking? Because these are small matters. I've told them, these are small matters. They can talk and finish. Now, when people go into the streets and the police must now come in, do they have the right training before you blame them? Have they learned modern crowd control techniques? The answer is no. So they are trying to manage a crowd the best way they can, which is how they used to do it 30 years ago. It cannot work. The days of using tear gas to disperse the crowds are over. The crowds don't care about tear gas. We are setting up ourselves for serious failure. You know? The police also are traumatized. You can imagine, I saw 8 policemen, 8, I counted. When Raila was leaving Imara Daima heading to Pipeline, 8 police or so were sent to block, 8, a crowd of thousands of people. They are also scared, they are human beings. They can act in a very erratic manner. Never mind that, like in places like Kisumu, they're also pelted with stones. And the stones are hitting some of them, and they are human beings. So that is a very ugly situation to put in a policeman. You get it? In terms of even deployment, we don't know how they are deployed. We don't know whether you are off duty and nobody had alerted you will be on duty, but now you're just walking up from your house. Maybe you are drunk. All these command issues, training issues must be addressed for future. But for now, it will be unfair for us to blame the police.
But what about their communication, Prof? In as much as they're not trained, are you trained to conceal information and give false or rather fake news?
That is part of the training. It's part of the training.
But you're supposed, and look at
it's
the
part of the training because people think we must deny everything. You see, government is always denying. And in the process of denying, you're even giving false information like the DCI was doing. And again, we live in a country where everybody wants to please the one on top. So if you are a commander of police, you want to please the president. That's what that culture, we must deal with it. Some of it through training. Some of it through radical transformation in our thinking, in our body politic. You see, in our political culture. So everybody in this country thinks they must lie on behalf of the boss. Because the boss would want to hear this, so you say it. You get it? And the politicians think this is the Kenya of 1990. So when Moi was managing the crowds, you want to borrow from what Moi was doing. But Moi was using certain laws that are no longer in place. The world was what it was. The world has changed today. You get it? The media and the information wasn't what the state of information is so high. So the people are saying, walk. Many people are yet to smell the coffee. The world has changed. Kenya has changed. So the actors must bring themselves up to speed with the changes. Because when you listen to people talk, politicians, you sympathize with them. There are people in this country in leadership who think you can manage the crowd using force. They don't know it's not possible.
What then would be the motive of a police or a senior police officer who is in charge of communication and giving the details on what has taken place? A police officer has lost his life here, and then you're telling the public the wrong information. And of course,
that's the culture in this country, I've told you. People want to tell lies. People want to cover up. They think that's the best way to do the job. You think you are protecting your boss by saying the lie. So the police commander thinks he's doing what the president will want. Those under him think they are doing what the commander will want, and so on and so on. It's a culture we must deal with. But it's a question of smelling the coffee. It's a question of better training. You see, even in an organization, when something happens, like a school, a child is sick or dies, what comes out of the school management? See, the wongo too. They're just lies. Lies after lies. Cover up after cover up. We have thought for long that's the best way to do things. But the world has changed. Because of the flow of information, we must learn to manage information, not to conceal information. That's where the training comes in. That's why we are here. My shirt is about to get torn. I've had it for from 2016. If people valued professionals, I'll be having a better shirt because I'll be training police in Kiganjo and they'll be paying me for it. How to manage information, how to communicate to the public. You are a police service. How do you package your information to the people? You know? How do you address? I saw some people from the, I don't want to mention, addressing a press. The signal they are sending is so dangerous. You see? So we must also get to a point where we value professionals. You see? Somebody like me should be going to Kiganjo to train them on communication.
Definitely.
On how to manage information.
So then,
on how not to lie.
Initially, you're saying
because you can't lie now. The problem of lying now. You issue a photograph and the boys have a way of putting in the system and it comes the exact one. Say this is Photoshop. Hii kichwa ni ya Manyora lakini hii mambo ingine ilifanyika the year 2015 in Rwanda, not in Kenya. So if you knew that, would you lie? Would you lie?
Definitely.
Will you cover up? So the police also require modern training. Yeah, from professionals.
What then is the fate of those who are already arrested in relation to the murder of that police officer? Because they've been arrested,
the certain should be
charged,
they should
then
be released.
all of a sudden this information
This is the kind of help you are saying, where people are saying they have been left by their leaders. So that what we are saying, Raila should not rush just to release Opio and I and Mazayo, my friend. No. He should also send a good lawyer, now that we know the truth, to move the court to release these people pending inquiry. There must be an inquiry for that kind of death. It's not someone's going to be taken to court today. So when the inquiry is being organized, the people should be out. They may participate in the inquiry. So that's now that idea of leaders abandoning their people comes in. Because if it was an MP, they would have rushed. If the ordinary person arrested for what is clearly something that was done by the police, and is still languishing, if they are inside, that's where people like Raila have to come in and quickly move, send Otenda Molo, send Orengo, send the people, Danson Omari, to have those people released. We must not be seen to be rushing only to release the big boys and girls. Yeah.
And definitely our police, our force needs some sort of training and good training.
The training is what the police need. We can deny it. We can wait for disaster. The choice is ours.
But that is done
because I'm advising government. I've been talking to the intelligence on air like this, talking to the police and talking to government, and telling them the tactics they are using cannot work. They will lead to disaster. You've seen boys taking the tear gas and throwing back. It will not be long before the crowds overrun the police, and that will not be good for the country. So the police will need training, crowd management training. You know, even equipment. There are some guns I saw during there was some problem in Nairobi. I don't know. I saw some guns by foreign. I think it was the bomb blast or something. I saw some crazy looking guns which you only see in film, in movies. I was told it's anti-personnel gun. So I said, what does that mean? It's a gun we only see in the movies. Even the way it looks big and, some funny shape. I was told if it releases something like a bullet, the noise, the sound, the tremor, the dust, everybody will run away. So that is equipment. Assuming it was right. But the training, to know the dangers, how not to expose yourself. How close, what formations to have. How to chase the crowd in a slum. If the police are following people in a slum, in the dark alleys, supposing some of the boys are within the houses, others are going ahead. You are chasing those, but others are hidden behind in the houses. They can overturn your vehicles. They can injure the police. So this sort of, I'm not a trained person, but looking at the way the police have been managing the crowds, I believe strongly there's need for crowd management training. There's need for communication so that the police know they owe it to the public to give them accurate information. If you listen to America, the UK and this, what we do know now, and then what follows, periodically they keep reporting. We have since learned, that kind of briefing. The public is kept in the know of what is happening, what the government is doing, what the police are doing, what the dangers are, what the casualties are. That kind of information. So there must be a way of training the police to manage the crowds and also to manage information.
Do you think that the committee formed by the president, headed by former Chief Justice David Maraga, to actually look into the reforms in the police service will actually yield some of these reforms that we are looking up to as a nation?
It may, but I don't have much confidence, because if you look at the Constitution and the background to it, and how we came up with the National Police Service, the things Maraga is supposed to be addressing are supposed to be addressed within the... That's why we have the National Police Service, to address those things. So you don't need another outside body, an ad hoc committee, to address what the National Police Service... The National Police Service ought to address matters of welfare of the police, of the challenges the police face, and make this recommendation to relevant bodies. And if it's funding, to get the right funding and so on and so forth. Well, they may achieve something. But from our experience as a country, we set up these committees, these commissions, these are the whole committees, but their reports are just left in their shelves. Even when they are implemented, is it just the tail end of the report that is... Even when we say the RAM2 Commission, the Hurim Commission, it was recommended that led to new salaries, first of all, two things will be noticed. Number one, even though they end up with salary increment, that salary is far from what would have been recommended. Number one. Number two, recommendation for salary will be a very small aspect of the report. And then the whole report is not recommended. So that's why I have not much...
Okay, and then finally, so what is your comment on those who are terming IPOA as a toothless watchdog right now?
Yeah, it's not living up to expectations. Yeah, we expect them to be independent oversight, but they have not been.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are still looking into matters that are of great interest to this country, and our eyes are fixed on the ground to ensure that we bring you up to date with everything taking place in this country. We do hope that our police officers will receive the right training to handle the masses, and of course we do not want to witness any kind of extrajudicial killings and any loss of life as we've witnessed in the recent past. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.